Hey, everybody. Welcome to Move the Sticks, the workshop series presented by Lowe's. This is something we're doing through a few of these teams, Buck, that we're trying to put them in the lab a little bit, see if we can't solve some of their issues and their problems and preview the changes that have been made. We will get into that portion of the show in just a little bit. We'll focus on the Commanders and what they've done under Adam Peters and Dan Quinn to revamp that roster. So we'll get to that part of the show in just a little bit. But first of all, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm good, DJ. We're here. I mean, we're in the mix. Like it's game week. It's exciting. We get to talk about all these teams over the weekend, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, today we are. It's going to be not a long episode. But we're going to have a chance to dig into our game of the week, which is back. We did that last year. That will be back again this year, which we're looking forward to jumping into that. And then we'll take a quick break after that, and then we will put the Commanders in the spotlight. And again, discuss how they've improved their roster and what their chances look like in the NFC East. But Buck, first of all, we're going game of the week. A lot of good games to choose from, but I think we're on the same page here. The return of Aaron Rodgers and what that looks like is where we're going to land.
DJ, we had to do it. So we're excited to break this one down. But before we get to that, it is time for the MCS Game of the Week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, it's the Jets at the 49ers. The spread is -4.5. Favoring the 49ers. The over-under is 43.5 points.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game, man. I don't know. I don't know that it's going to be that wide of a margin. I feel like wherever this goes, I think this is going to be a nail-biter game. And I think when let's start on the Jet side of the things. Obviously, it's Aaron Rodgers to go along with a revamped offensive line. Look, we'll see if they can maintain their health throughout the year, Buck. But to get to the starting point, with those guys ready to roll, that group up front is more than serviceable. And then we can find out what Aaron Rodgers looks like in his offense. A lot of times talk about guys, how does he get along with the coordinator? How do they adjust? He is the coordinator. I mean, let's be honest. This is Aaron Rodgers' offense. If he's not calling the plays, he has probably more input than any other quarterback in the league in what play is being called. So I don't think there'll be any difficulty from that standpoint. It's just a matter of, can this offensive line stay healthy? Can they handle a very good front with the 49ers? And then, can they navigate the football to one of the best young receivers in the NFL, and Garrett Wilson, the passing game?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that you want to like and what you're looking for from the Jets. You can talk about that offense. I can talk about the defense with Quentin Williams and Quincy Williams, the brothers, Pro Bowlers who have been able to do it, Sauce Gardner on the outside, and what Robert Saleh has available to really attack a 49ers offense. This Jets team is expected to be one that is led by that defense, even though Aaron Rodgers gets the headlines. But it's time to see this defense play at an elite level. But on the other side, when we talk about the 49ers, it's funny, DJ, because there have been a lot of, I would say, controversy, a lot of hemming and hawing over the course of training camp and the offseason about contracts and those things. And then we reach game week, and lo and behold, everyone gets signed. And I guess everybody's happy now, and the team is going to pick up where they left off. It just seems crazy that they went on this circuitous route to get to this spot, but here they are, and they're looking like they're one of the best teams in football. Can they kind of repair all the fractured relationships to make sure they have the chemistry, camaraderie to play at the level that we expect whenever we see the Niners play?
Yeah, it's they got all those issues resolved. It was kind of a long process, but here we are, where we all thought they would be, having everybody in the fold and ready to go. That matchup to me between the wide receiver core with Brandon Ayuk freshly signed is going to be fascinating against the Jets secondary, who I'd put up against any secondary in the league. By the way, nice to see Michael Carter II get paid as one of the best nickelbacks in the NFL. Smart to lock him up by Joe Douglas and company. But I think that's a heavyweight fight. I think when you look at the line of scrimmage, I would imagine the screen game will be a big part. Even though the Jets don't need to rush a lot of guys to get home because they're very talented up front. They're very similar teams in that they want to attack with those jet front looks, and they're going to get wide and they're going to get up the field, and that will present some opportunities. The fascinating thing is, between Christian McCaffrey and Breece Hall, not only can you get first downs on some of those are home run hitting opportunities for each team in the screen game.
Yeah, the screen game is fantastic, and I would say maybe the advantage. Well, maybe they cancel each other out. But Robert Saleh really knowing Kyle Shanahan well. And whenever you've coached with someone for a long time and you're friends with someone, you kind of understand how they think, particularly in situations. I would expect the Jets to be well prepared to defend this Niners offense. And Look, I know Kyle Shanahan knows Salah. He'll have some things that he'll set up to attack him. But to me, you're right. This is a heavyweight fight, one that should go deep into the fourth quarter before it's decided.
What do you feel about the this Jets offensive line? There's some new pieces, some young, some old, some coming off injuries. But when you just look at the way it looks up front right now, Tyron Smith,
Mhm.
look, he still can play, especially I think early in the season while he's fresh. You get Elijah Vera Tucker back healthy. Morgan Moses is a
Mhm.
stabilizing force. Joe Tippmann, I think, has got a chance to be a really, really good young center. John Simpson's a big physical guy, so they can build kind of a firm pocket, hopefully, in their case, against Javon Hargrave and company that can really push the pocket. So I think that's a pivotal matchup there with their offensive line versus the Niners D line.
Yeah, it is. It's a really interesting matchup. And you're right. Week one, man, they look as good as advertised on paper, right? You have Morgan Moses on one side, you have Tyron Smith on the other side, you have all the weapons available to Aaron Rodgers. So this offense should be able to roll. You worry about later in the year, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about this week one. And in week one, this team looks like they can go toe to toe with the Niners. I understand that the spread is 4.5, but man, it seems like this game is going to be a much tighter game than 4.5 points would indicate.
Yeah, you got Olu Fashanu just waiting in the wings too. So I think they can absorb an injury. I don't know if they want to absorb more than one, but I think they can absorb one. Those two 33-year-old tackles, they got a little depth there behind them. When you look offensively for the Niners, what changes? Like what's the next level for Brock Purdy? What do you want to see from Purdy here as he's coming off a monster year?
Well, I'm pretty impressed with Brock Purdy as it is, but I think what you want to see is can he continue to master the drop back passing game?
Yep.
So much of what the Niners have been able to do has been play action, boot action, things where you use the run to kind of bait the defense to create these windows. But what can he do when he doesn't have that available, when they don't respect the running game and they don't overreact to those play action fakes? Is he good enough as a passer to pick apart teams in a traditional drop back passing game? Because the Niners developed that part of their offense where they have a drop back passing game to go at all the great things that they do, running, play action, bootleg, and all that other stuff. The offense becomes unstoppable. So I want to see Brock Purdy be able to do that. And I also want to see him play not unaffected by the tight coverage that could be on his wide receivers. We talked about man to man and how people were taking away those easy throws. Well, now I need to see Brock Purdy be able to fit it into tighter windows. Even though I think he has that capability, we need to see it because you see it, man. I don't know what else would keep you from writing the big check that he's going to get when we get to the beginning of the offseason next year.
You talked about that drop back passing. That was something that as the year went on last year, you saw Kyle Shanahan put more belief and more confidence in him, just pure drop back. And I think you'll see that confidence continue to grow as a play caller and Kyle Shanahan with Purdy. I think you'll see more of that. The other thing I want to see, look, I know he is excellent underneath intermediate, crossers, anticipation, digs. Like those are his sweet spot throws. I know Kurt Warner always talks about that in cut. He built his house on that in cut, and that's something that Brock Purdy does really, really well. I want to see, can they get a little more vertical? Can we get over the top and really get some chunk plays over the top to pay off what should be a dynamic running game with Christian McCaffrey? So I think this game's close. I probably lean towards the 49ers, but I think it's a very, very close ball game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's close, but I also would lean towards the Niners. They are the proven commodity. They're the team that we've seen it, and that's why I'm going to go with the Niners in this one. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code MTS. New customers can bet just $5 to get 250 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code MTS. The crown is yours.
All right, Buck, let's take a quick break. We come back and we will put the Washington Commanders in the workshop here, see if we can't figure some things out with almost a brand new roster there for Dan Quinn and company. All right, Buck, this was a big offseason of change in Washington. Ironically, I guess it's an election year, right? So there's always changes that take place in election years. But this is a new general manager. Our buddy Adam Peters takes it over. Dan Quinn is his hire as a head coach who has experience. He's been to a Super Bowl. Obviously has an expertise on the defensive side of the ball. But I like the fact when you have a rookie general manager that you pair him with a veteran head coach, someone who has experience in that capacity. And then you think about change. Well, you've got ownership change not too long ago. You've got a new GM. You've got a new head coach. And usually that comes with a new quarterback. And they have one of the more exciting players, along with Caleb Williams. I think Jaden Daniels, two of the more exciting young quarterbacks we've seen enter the league in a while, which is saying something.
Yeah, it is saying something. You talk about Jaden Daniels coming into the league as a very mature playmaker who has, look, the gunslinger game, but he has this managerial mentality that he understands when to risk it and when to scale it back. I love what he's going to add to this offense, not only as a passer, but as a runner. And the thing that I look at that wide receiver core where you're seeing Scary Terry McLaurin. You understand De'Ami Brown has been elevated and put into a role where he can be the number 2 wide receiver. It should be fun to watch this offense cook. And with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler in the backfield, they're going to have the balance that you want to see in terms of being able to run it, but also throw it to the backs. They're going to make you defend the entire field. And Jaden Daniels is the perfect trigger man for this type of offense.
Yeah, there's a stat I want to get to that's going to tell you, whether or not this Washington team can turn a corner. We'll get into some of the new personnel here in a minute. But how about this one? The Commanders rushers. This is a next-gen stat here. They averaged 0.9 rushing yards before contact per carry on design runs in 2023, making them one of 10 teams to average less than 1 yard before contact per carry in that span. So they were 23rd in the league. That's got to get better. I mean, you cannot put this entire thing on Jaden Daniels this year. I'm excited about him. I believe in him. I think he's played a lot of ball. I think he's ready to go. He's prepared. But I don't care how good you are. If you cannot run the ball at all, and you're not creating some space for your running game, you are going to be living in 2nd and 9s, and that is not a place you want to be living in the NFL.
No, you don't want to do that because you don't want to expose the young quarterback to all the exotic pressures that you'll see in that situation, but you also don't want to expose that offensive line. I know they just paid Cosme on a major extension to keep him in place as a key piece to that offensive line, but you just don't want to get into those long yardage situations with a young quarterback because that's when the bad things happen. Tips, overthrows, interceptions, splash plays for the defense always happen in those situations. So can Cliff Kingsbury find a way to get this offense to stay on schedule, to play on time, to actually work ahead of the chain? So now you can unleash the quarterback for some big ball, deep shot opportunities in favorable situations. If they can do that, this team can light up scoreboards. But a lot of it will hinge on how effective they are in controlling the trenches. If they can control the point of attack, then it becomes easy for the quarterback and coach to call plays and execute those plays.
All right, there's some theories of team building. Some people hold this theory, which is, especially with a young quarterback, you want a veteran, established pro in every position group. So, in other words, when you're in a meeting room, you got some young players you're excited about, you want to put an old head vet who's got a lot of success in this league in that room, provide leadership and guidance for those guys, and inevitably for the quarterback. So when you look at bringing in Zach Ertz, you bring in Austin Eckler, you go to the defensive side of the ball, Buck, and you bring in a Bobby Taylor. You're bringing in veteran guys who've accomplished a lot of things in this league. Even, Jeremy Chin's a younger player, but someone who's had experience and is a good player. So Dorrance Armstrong comes over from the Dallas Cowboys. But really those offensive guys, I think we would agree Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler are not what they were as their younger selves. But do you buy into the value of the experience, the knowledge, the leadership in those players?
Yeah, for a franchise that hasn't won significant games in a long time, I think it's really important. Not only on the offensive side of the ball, we have Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler, but some of the defensive veterans that Dan Quinn has surrounded himself by that he knew along the way that have helped him transform cultures and programs before. It's really important to have those voices on the ground, guys with boots on the ground that can kind of continue to carry his message beyond the meetings that you have with the coaching staff. To me, this team is tricky in terms of trying to project what they will be down the line. They have talent enough to really compete with the top teams in the division. But how quickly can Dan Quinn get it going with a young quarterback having to lead the way?
Yeah, and in terms of those veterans, I'll give you one other number here about Eckler. Last year, Eckler gained 532 yards after the catch. So that was including plus 126 yards after the catch over expected, which was 3rd in the league. So while Eckler didn't run the ball as well as he maybe had in some previous years, he is a safety valve. He is someone who can provide easy completions, and he can still make things happen after the catch, which I think will be a nice benefit there to Jaden Daniels. But this is a team that has that veteran presence, but also a team that, led by Jaden Daniels, is going to be heavily reliant on this first draft class that they have. Bucky, you look at this too deep here, and you see Luke McCaffrey's going to be, getting a ton of time here, especially after they move on from Jahan Dotson. He's going to be pivotal. Brandon Coleman, who is a tackle, also played guard if you needed him to. That was their 3rd round pick. You go to the defensive side of the ball. Stainer still looks like he could be playing some nickel as well as could play outside, however they want to use him there. There is a group, a collection, a handful of those rookies led by Jaden Daniels that if this team is going to approach 500, I think not only those guys are going to play a lot, they got to play well.
They have to play well. So they're counting on those guys to perform at a high level. And it's one of the things that you do when you're Dan Quinn and Adam Peters and you're committed to the draft and develop philosophy. You want to make sure that, look, the general manager in the front office give the coaching staff enough players to develop. Then you trust the coaches to put those guys on the field. Because Dan Quinn has operated in similar programs, first in Seattle as a coordinator, then in Atlanta when he was the head guy, he understands how to get young guys ready. It's about the practice reps. It's about putting them in games and trusting them that they can work through their mistakes. But it's a collaborative effort. And you can already see in Washington, Peters and Quinn are working together to make sure they turn this thing around.
I'm going to give you my vision of what this year looks like. And then you give me the differences you might have there, how you see this thing playing out. I think they are still going to struggle to run the football well. This offensive line worries me a little bit. That's a concern. I think Jaden Daniels is going to complement the running game. He is going to juice up those numbers because they're going to end up using him, and he might be doing some of this on his own, just scrambling, making things happen. I think he's a big part of that. I think defensively they're going to give up yards and points. I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of games where you're going to finish the game. You're going to be chasing points. You're not going to be able to run the ball much. So you're going to be chasing points. And I think Jaden Daniels is going to put up good numbers. And I think you're going to end the season, maybe not with the win total that you want, but you're going to say, man, this quarterback is the guy. He's put up numbers, stats, points. He's tried to get us back into some games that maybe we shouldn't even have been in. Now we go into the next offseason, and now we got to really help this guy take the next step. But that's kind of how I see this version of the Washington Commanders this year unfolding.
So what I hear you saying is this team might be like a bag of potato chips, a lot of empty calories, right? You're spinning your wheels, you're doing a bunch of different things. You're going to see Jaden Daniels put up a bunch of numbers, but it may not be directly related to winning. And that's okay, because when you talk about the rookie season and a quarterback that you hope, knock on wood, plays for 17 games, this year is more about the experience. It's about learning how to be a pro, learning how to play the game at a high level. And now if he gives them the juice that C.J. Stroud gave the Texans, to me, that's gravy, but that's unexpected. What you want to see is he not only understands how to play at the NFL level, but by the end of the year, he begins to show you flashes of dominating at the NFL level that allows you to build upon his skill set to put this team in a position next year to move closer to being able to compete at a playoff level.
Yeah, I just think when you look inside this division, I feel like Philadelphia is ahead of them. I feel like the Cowboys are ahead of them. And I think they're that's the goal this year. Let's be better than the Giants, and let's try and close the gap with those top two. And I think, I don't know, man, it sounds in a season of optimism, I feel like this is negative, but I think the goal is hey, let's get to eight or 9 wins would be a heck of a year, man. Year one of this new regime.
Yeah, I think that would be a nice accomplishment, man. Look, you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run. And if Dan Quinn understands what he has, and if they can just get to being respectable, that is on the way to being good. It's hard to go from as bad as they were to being a really, really good team in 1 year, but they have some pieces in place that certainly can help them get to being a competitive team in the NFC.
No doubt. Well, there you have it. A look there at the Washington Commanders. Anything you want to add as we head out the door and look forward to enjoying a weekend full of football, Buck?
No, I mean, look, we're really looking forward to it. You understand what the Commanders have in the fold. It should be a lot of fun to watch this team develop with a young quarterback that's as exciting as they come.
Yeah, there you go. That is the Washington Commanders. And this has been Move the Sticks, the workshop series presented by Lowe's.